Hello, everybody, and thank you first of all and foremost for still being here. We do appreciate it. Nice. I would like to, before we start off the panel in itself, I have a very important question to each one of you guys where the idea is only to raise your hand for yes and no. When we look at the end of 2027, so the end of next year, and we're talking about autonomous AI, agentic, wallets that do hold value compared to human-operated wallets. Do you think that the AI agentic ones are going to be safer or the human ones? Whoever is for AI? And the human ones? Okay, that's
2027, yes. 2028 and 9, I don't know. Yeah, that's the critical point.
Okay, perfect. I mean, now you also, with this idea, understood a little bit where everybody stands on the matter that we're going to discuss now. We have split this up in a couple of setups, but most importantly, and starting off with, the idea is that after being introduced, we should actually just dive in, right? Now, in my opinion, I think one of the greatest things that we have at this panel is that we have two very, very interesting visions here. On one side, we have Charles with Ledger, who is going down the idea that AI agents actually do need hardware-anchored identity and human approval. And then on the other side, we have Rodrigo from Edge and Node, who is definitely pointing into a way more agentically, fully automated, least amount of human interaction kind of possible situation. And I would like to use this actually to start off, because it would be nice in a perfect world to have both, but one needs to prevail and the other one is probably going to get absolved. And Rodrigo, I think I'm going to start off with you to pass it on. Why do you think that this part, where you guys started off building with Arsenal, why do you think this is the right way to go?
Well, we're talking about agents scaling into the billions in number, interacting more at scale than humans, and interacting at machine speed in microseconds, and dealing in microtransactions. And many of these transactions may be like a lower risk, for example, and so you could set a risk threshold. So like one of the basic things to do is you say, okay, don't spend more than 5 cents, and that would be one method in order to prevent it. Because realistically, stopping and approving every microtransaction isn't feasible. And so our methodology is to set these policies in place at the wallet level, make them unbreakable, require a co-signing transaction on the smart account side. And that's sort of a balanced approach of having the human interaction at the beginning and the onset, but yet not having to interact every time and doing that at scale.
I got you. Charles, you're betting a little bit more on a different thing. Your idea is that it needs to be hardware anchored ultimately and in its foundation. At what scale of operations does the human in the loop kind of approach just become impractical and obsolete?
I don't think there is a big opposition between hardware on one side and AI on the other side, and I think both are compatible and necessary. First of all, what you would like to do is to give your agent some autonomy when it comes to doing transaction, but there are a few things that you would like to ensure. The first one is the question of alignment. You want to be sure that your agent is doing whatever you want. And this is not completely a solved problem today. This is generally speaking, it's a complex problem to ensure alignment between what is prompted and what is actually executed. So in order to solve that, what you can create is a set of policies that won't be agentic. You want those policies to be completely deterministic, to be sure that your agent cannot do something that it is not allowed to. And you need a human in the loop, because at the end, the agent won't create the rule and respect them. Like the human will create the rule and the agent will respect the rules. And the second thing is security, because what you want to do is to delegate some actions and transactions to your agent, but you don't want to give your keys to the agent. That would be a very bad idea for security reasons. So what you would like is something in between, like delegating some rights to the agent so that it can do autonomously some transaction according to a certain policy, but without giving your keys. At the end, your keys must remain in a secure enclave. Probably hardware is a better idea. And what you would need to do is to make sure the hardware can verify the policy and autonomously sign the transaction, and maybe above a certain threshold, your policy will say, I need a human in the loop. So what I want to say is this is not like an opposition. Both are compatible, and thinking today that we would give our keys and everything to the agent is a bad idea.
I would actually agree with you on that part. So don't ever give any private information to your agent. Like, it's not your friend.
Yeah,
What's this?
And frankly, if you give your keys, like your 24 words to your agent and provide some high-level mission, for sure, it will lose all the money. There is no other outcome.
That is actually true. But Kostas, I have a question for you, which is very direct. Can the math give us actually autonomy and meaningful human authority in itself in this case? Or is it just too greedy to hope for that?
Look, in my opinion, the trading in general on the blockchain will eventually follow the process of the stock market. As we see today, 75% of all the transactions are automated. There is no humans. Eventually, we're going there, and this is why previously I answered on 2027, maybe it's going to be like a place where we will start seeing the evolution of agents being a bit more autonomous, probably smarter. Eventually, they will outsmart people, right? And this is the place actually you want your agents to be. If you are not very smart as a trader, there is a reason you're using your agent because it's smarter than you. And then eventually we're getting in a mode where I totally agree with the key management part. Obviously, we have to be very, very careful on how we're doing this delegation of power to be able to sign on behalf of me. Yes, the hardware there is super important. At the same time, if you want to fight against other agents, you have to be fast. So we have to be careful that in the new world where everybody's debating between themselves with bots and agents of agents, that because everything changed, you don't know what is the day that everything changed in AI, right? It's December 2025, when an agent can verify another agent that can do something else with another agent. So in practice, we have multiple agents trying to work for you. It will be literally your people that will do trading on behalf of you.
Yeah.
Humans will be an important element until we go to a full transition, in my opinion, because that's how the stock market works for the last, 50 years or something. I don't know how fast. I have a feeling that it will happen in the next 5 years, definitely.
But you still need to emphasize security ultimately. And Jason, this is how I get to you. When we're looking at the current setup, which one is harder to break, like the human interactive one or the agentic interactive one? And what do you think it's going to look like in 2 years?
At this point, it's definitely the agentic. Sorry, I think humans still we still hold the human for assurance and accountability. That sense of responsibility still lies within the human machining interfaces there. But the future, I like to compare this with the evolution of Tesla's FSD, right? Now we're seeing the future already. FSD is taking over the human driving skills, and so I don't think wallet controls or wallet operations will be an exception to that.
I got you. Okay.
Yes, but we shouldn't forget that people might be scammed as well, right?
What do you
At the
mean
moment,
might be? I think this is one of the biggest problems that are happening in today's time.
How do you know if it's easier to hack a person or an AI at the moment? You don't know. You don't know. The AI can actually impersonate people so easily that you can get a message believing it's from your, CFO, but it's not your CFO anymore, and you have to sign, right? And this is where we also have to pay some attention here. It's not only like black or white in this situation. There are cases that we have to educate our people as well, how they use agents and how they can take decisions. You see what happened in the Bybit hack. Some people just signed something because of an upgrade nobody noticed, and there was a UX issue, you didn't realize what you're signing. This is actually a bigger problem at the moment compared to anything else.
Which is quite interesting and leads me to my next question or set of questions. I remember when I was building it was a multitude of problems that were keeping me up at night. And we're talking about endless sleep of nights. And I would like to ask each and every one of you, and like, I don't want the corporate answers. For me, and I believe it's also going to be interesting for everybody that sits and listens to you, what is the one thing right now that keeps you up at night where you're like, I have not solved this yet, and it is bugging me, it is annoying me, but I just cannot, like, I don't have a solution for it right now. Kostas, let's start off with you.
Yeah, for me, all of this AI vulnerability detection, my biggest fear is if like Claude will publish a new model that we don't know how to use, and it goes to the wrong hands before we actually do the job. The main problem here is, as a white hat hacker, and when you're working on security, you're trying to solve all of the problems, all of the vulnerabilities you can imagine, and you can actually enlist. But the hacker needs one, right? And we are in a different place where everybody's a target now. We're in a like big data world now. Everybody can just run, even a student, some random tests with AI. They can find an attack that nobody noticed, and then you need continuous audits. I cannot see how new companies in this like 2026 plus, they can survive without auditing with all of the newer versions of AI. Every 2-3 months, we have to do an extra check. And this is actually quite tiring, and you have to restructure the companies or whoever is the communities associations to work under that mindset.
Thank God for cron jobs, by the way, that do this testing on a daily basis. Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, for me, there are two main topics that are still unsolved. The first one is user experience. Even the blockchain ecosystem got better at this, we are still far from where we should be. And as Ledger and as part of the ecosystem, we are working in making the user experience when you use crypto easier and more smooth. And the second one is definitely security. Now that we have AI, finding vulnerabilities has never been so easy and so cheap. And in the blockchain ecosystem, vulnerabilities are very costly. We are not in a random ecosystem, so we must really be perfect. We really need to raise the bar for security using hardware, using ZK, using formal methodology. There will be the last bastion to be secure, and doing a tiny mistake will enable attackers to find it and hack protocols and everything. So this is a little bit frightening, but this is what keeps me at night, because now attackers have an unprecedented power that they didn't have before.
Okay. Just as a reference, imagine you have a house with 1,000 doors, and you have to make sure that all of them are safe and secured, but there's only one door that somebody needs in order to enter your house. That's my favorite analogy on that one. Jason, how about you?
From our point of view, it's about the institution. The institution's involvement into the digital assets. This is actually the moment that we're all chasing for, which is mass adoption. When we see the Web2 institutions start adopting digital assets initiatives, this is the start of the this crypto ideas being going to every family that we interact with. But the security part of it, if we see one big hacks from the Web2 institutions, then how are they going to react to it? And what is the public perceptions about such incidences? Is it going to be a kill switch for such adoption? That event is definitely something that we don't want to see.
Okay, so we got security, security, security. Rodrigo, let me take an educated guess what you're going to choose.
I'm going to take a different angle, actually.
Nice.
Let's change it up. So I'm talking about from a business and entrepreneurial perspective is securing a business model. So in the age of AI and cloning and the ability for someone to just copy exactly what you're doing, vibe
Capitalism, I like it.
The capitalistic side is how do you actually secure a moat and a business model when tomorrow someone just like copies the idea and outcompetes or so I'm looking at it. So what keeps me up at night as an entrepreneur is, okay, how do we race to get adoption and get a moat before there's somebody else that just like duplicates it, in a weekend and vibe codes exactly what you're doing, but has something, another edge. And then, you know what I mean? And so building a business today is
I get you, but I think one thing that we also need to just mention here is that if you go out on that famous idea of just clone Tinder, Tinder has been built for years and years and years. So if you go and use Lovable, for example, just as a reference point, and you tell them, just build me that application, that thing that's going to not have any guardrails or any security measures or any depth compared to the actual product. It's going to be like a newborn baby compared to an adult if you look at that in that way.
today, but 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now, that could be different. And we, for example, in our business, there's been this whole SaaS disruption. I'm sorry we're getting off topic here, but internally we developed a whole HR platform to replace a system that we were spending tens of thousands of dollars for annually, and it works just as well. And it's internal use and is secure enough for our usage, but those are very real threats of disintermediation.
I don't think it's off topic because ultimately DeFi is going to get attacked by AI or something else which is around the corner, hypothetically speaking. And this is why I'd like to move this conversation also a little bit against that AI versus quantum approach, where a lot of people think that they know what they're afraid of, but they really have no idea because of the complexity of the systems that we're first about to encounter. And like over the next 5 years, for example, keeping in mind how fast things are moving, like what's the biggest threat to on-chain finance in your opinion? Is it going to be quantum or is it going to be AI in itself? You have to pick one and be very, very quick about that. And you know what, Charles? I'm going to start with you.
Those are very different threats.
I know.
With AI, the threat is immediate. With AI, you can find vulnerabilities very quickly and drain a protocol. Quantum is a little bit more sneaky. For me, the threat for quantum is not really the quantum computer happening in 1 year or 5 years or 10 years from now. The threat is really more the capacity of the ecosystem to move towards post-quantum cryptography before people lose trust. This is the threat. The threat is not the actual quantum computer breaking cryptography. This is the lose in the trust of our systems.
Okay, that's fair enough, I would say. Kostas?
For me, it's very simple. I think AI is the thing that we have to be careful today. There are many debates around the quantum computer when it comes. Many folks are actually focusing on what Google published very recently. Yeah. And there is some progress in the last few days, actually, on top of what Google published about the quantum computer coming in the next few years.
Wait, let me fix the wall for 1 second. It's okay.
And yeah, so what I will say is, as we see, actually, we have an example here. AI is also probably the gate to go to the quantum computer. Because if we need someone else, all of the potential predictions for the quantum computer originally in the next 10, 15 years, you have to start now because you have to be prepared by yourself. All of this, like migration to new tech, it cannot happen in 1 year. It cannot even happen in 3 years. Sometimes it takes a decade for all of the signatures we have, our wallets, to convert into something else. Some people are sleeping. Someone is under a court decision. They cannot transfer their money. We have to. That's the reason we start for quantum now. But AI, it's happening, right? And AI is improving quantum advancement. AI will also find attacks on the quantum implementations. So I cannot see how quantum can be the bigger threat today, although we cannot wait. Right?
That is true.
That's the reality. But
Jason.
AI is the winner.
It's very simple. Quantum.
Wait. The winner of the threat assessment. Amazing. What a prize.
Post-quantum issue is overhyped. We already have solutions, and solutions is in place for 4 or 5 years. NIST have this standard pushed out a long time ago about how do we deal with that. AI is the X vector. I have to totally agree with the Kostas.
Rodrigo, come on.
I'm sort of in between these two in the quantum threat. I mean, I met with top quantum cryptographers this year in Davos and more recently in Bahamas, and they seem to think it's much closer than what's published. They have technology they haven't disclosed yet. They also say that if someone were to have this technology, like say it's in the hands of a bad actor, they would not publicly disclose it and would just start attacking, right? Like if you held the keys to everything, you would just start breaking into systems and cracking passwords like quietly and discreetly before revealing that you actually have that. And they seem to think that's much closer than...
Yeah, but then you would also, you could co-argument this with saying, okay, you know what, you have NASA's fire imagery that allows you to measure temperatures that it would need to generate in order to be able to quantum compute. So if that happens, only on the energy consumption side, you would see if somebody has a quantum computer. So hiding that is not going to be easy. And also when BlackRock, for example, or somebody like this gets broken into, people are very quickly going to be able to arrive to that.
Right, so then it becomes that is how quickly everyone will switch before, you know, the hacks.
I really think we should stop debating on when or if there will be a quantum computer. Like, we are using cryptography in order to have trust in the security of our system. Now, this trust is eroded, so there is no debate. We must migrate. And we must, because it takes a long time to migrate, especially in a blockchain, not because it's more complex, just because it's decentralized and you need to reach a social consensus. But we just need to migrate. Like, let's stop discussing this and start doing it.
Go ahead.
I can give also my other answer here. I think it's also a game theoretic situation here. If we manage to go very quickly into post-quantum, there is no interest actually afterwards for VCs and people to invest on post-quantum. Why? On quantum computers for breaking crypto. You want to use quantum computers, I don't know, to understand quantum phenomena, to probably do better trading, to use it for better AI, for other things. Now, it's still one of the topics, and this is why sometimes we see all of these debates, because this transition didn't happen yet. So there is something like to get if you manage to be the first one to do it. If in 5 years we solve this problem, Ledger has a quantum-like solution. We as SUI actually were publishing as well. You know, we have the first backwards compatible post-quantum solution. Eventually, you will not have this interest to spend money to find the next quantum computer only for breaking Satoshi's coins or something else. We will solve it earlier before the problem becomes a reality.
And in terms of game theory, building a quantum computer to break Satoshi coins doesn't really make sense, because you get the key and then everyone is freaking out and your Bitcoin are worth zero. So it's not really like someone building a quantum computer will sell it to the NSA or whatever to decrypt cryptography that are used online on telecommunication, this kind of thing. Like breaking Bitcoin is not really valuable. And something that's worth specifying also is that let's not think a quantum computer is a classical computer that is more powerful. It's very different. It cannot do plenty of things. It can break cryptography, that's one of the use cases. And for the rest, it's mostly like simulating the world with physics or chemistry, this kind of application. But this is pretty much it. Like the use cases for quantum computer are not very wide.
All right, perfect. Let me wheel you guys back a little bit more into the DeFi space, actually. There is about, I think, roughly 3.54 billion that were pretty much broken last year when it comes to different attacks, scams, etc., pp. This year, as it's going, it's not really looking better. And it's this repetitive cycle that has been going on and on for years, pretty much since DeFi in itself started off. And even with all the advancements in different technological fields, for example, post-quantum security, the basics, and I love the discussion that we had earlier about the user interface and usability in blockchain. It's the same things. It's the same, excuse my French, shitty multi-signature architecture. It's the same horrible guardrails that we have. It's the same security gaps that are just continuously being misused and exploited. What's going on? Like, how is that helping the entire space? Why is nobody improving this? And why are we focusing on problems that are not really there? And what could we do to actually fix that in order to also bring people back and to make Bitcoin and blockchain in general a more secure space, a more trusted space, a more engageable and communicative space. Jiang?
I can start, yes. So first of all, you mentioned multi-sig that are not used properly, and this is a big issue. But there are also like other attacks that are done, other protocols that are like attacked differently. And now attackers are getting more and more sophisticated, finding like new way to attack things, which is a little bit frightening. But when it comes to key management and like multi-sig management, today there exist solutions. So when you have like Bybit or others that are hacked just because they didn't invest enough in their security, frankly, this is their fault. Like they didn't invest enough in their security. Bybit secured 1.4 billion with like a $400 setup. This was their setup. There exists like solution for custody when it comes to financial institution and corporation, B2B. There exist. They cost a little bit more than $400, but they exist. And this is the responsibility for these big actors that are securing a large amount of money to use them. I really think this is something I'd like to...
Okay, this is actually quite interesting because we have the greed versus security kind of aspect that you're touching on. Because if you don't want to spend that money on securing your system, you're either spending it on something else or you're just keeping it in the company. Okay, I like that one, honestly. Rodrigo, what about you?
Well, in our area of expertise and work, we deal with data. So we're indexing on-chain data. And so our angle and perspective is ensuring that the data is accurate and complete and cryptographically proven to match what's on-chain. So whenever systems are utilizing on-chain data, the kind of open secret is that data needs to be indexed or organized and stored in a copy in a cloud database at the end of the day. In order to run a trading platform, for an agent to use it, you can't necessarily query the blockchain directly. You have to have an intermediate step where it's in some sort of database that's queryable. And so our job is to ensure that that data is cryptographically proven to be accurate and complete. It hasn't been tampered with. And in the case of like the Kelp DAO hack, there were RPC nodes that were poisoned. And so they fooled the network and injected data into the nodes. And so when the data was brought to the indexers, it was incorrect. And so that's how that hack was performed. So our method of securing kind of DeFi and agentic systems that are relying on on-chain data is to come from the data aspect and solve the sort of garbage in, garbage out problem that the data you're actually relying on and making trading decisions on is cryptographically proven.
Oh, I mean, like, looking back into my entrepreneurial days, I remember we had data, we had technological skills, and I can guarantee you anything that was available we did to secure the multi-signature. It was still broken open and we lost 80,000 Ether. I think everybody remembers that one. So, you know, Charles, I get that you say things are developing, but I still see the same attack vectors like before. And Kostas, I mean, your background is in cryptography, for crying out loud. Like, what do you think?
There are a few things that have to do with, especially with multi-sig, right? In my opinion, we should also go to a mode where we can even see who is signing. Some of the situations like the MPC wallets, like where there are 5 out of 7 signing, you don't even know who signed. Eventually, you don't see it on chain. It's actually problematic in this new world. Eventually, we want the blockchains to be able to handle larger data or faster all of these cryptographic operations to happen, because this will give also transparency of who exactly did the signature at what time and so on. Because now with the AI era, I believe we find so many bugs. And you mentioned previously, last year and this year is deteriorating. The reason is there is a concentration of bugs that happened all of these years that you were not a target because there was not AI to hack you. The problem now is everybody is a target. If you don't invest in security, someone will find the backdoor and they will get in. And most of the companies haven't been into this mindset yet that, yes, let's do business development. Let's go and sell increase our distribution channel and so on. And they believe, I feel sad sometimes, I guess you as well, people don't realize that the back-end systems now, even the UI systems, require increasing resources on security. We have to hire more security experts and agents.
This is a very, very important point. it is impeccable that every company, and I believe also everybody that sits in this room and is actually listening, it is of pivotal importance to have an incredibly good DevOps team. You need security engineers. Do not use AI to secure your system, by the way. Like, it just doesn't work, and it is important that money is spent and the resources spent to make sure that your system is actually secured. I think we can all agree on that one. But you have the most data. Like, you actually, this is actually quite interesting. You have the best data when it comes to those things because you're running audits. Now, the question to me is, do the attack vectors and everything, do they widen or are they getting more narrow and concentrated?
Yeah. First of all, reality thinking. We have to admit that we suck at security. We're not successful in securing this industry. If you look at, giving us a lot of give this industry a lot of credit. From 2020 to now, the industry is focusing on innovations, and we're not putting enough emphasis in security aspects, right? So that's the reality checking. This year, just like you mentioned, 1.2 billion, 227 incidents. We're just at the beginning of June. So what does that tell us? The attack vectors has been broadened so much. If you look at it from 2020 to 2023, it was all about smart contract exploits. After that, social engineering, phishing, wrench attack. Now it's about using the AIs to explore. To exploit the projects, whichever way they seem to fit. And there are a lot of things we can learn how the traditional institutions are handling the situation. And we're learning it by working with them. And some of those practices are effective in this industry, and we need to start implementing those.
It's actually quite interesting that, surprisingly, we all agree on that. Usually I'm always playing devil's advocate, but I do see this as one of the biggest issues. But I also believe that at some point of time, technology is not the issue anymore. It's about what does the incentive system actually look like in order to change the status quo at this stage? And is there any mechanism that you can think of that would do this, or are we just praying that Jason's going to do an absolutely impeccable job? This is an open question.
Well, I mean, today we utilize a system of bug bounties and hope for white hat hackers to be honest and disclose.
Hope.
We hope, but I mean that is the one incentive mechanism we utilize today, which is essentially prize money and hope that the threat of being caught and going to jail over.
Yeah, but that hasn't changed for decades. Like, come up with something different where you're like, you know what? When I hear this is what I would actually propose, just for jokes and giggles, to see how this could actually work and if it could actually change.
To be honest, I'm not sure it's a problem of incentives alignment, because in our ecosystem, like if your company is hacked, there is a large chance that it will die. So in terms of incentive, it's quite aligned. I mean, you need to invest in your security. The problem is that it's a complex problem, and you have to invest a lot, and you never know if you have invested enough. That might be more the problem rather than the incentive problem.
Yeah, but if we take the Kostas approach, then it will never be enough because the faster and more AI develops, the more doors in the house that I mentioned earlier as a visualization are going to start popping up.
Especially with AI, what that will change is the balances between attack and defense. We don't have the asymmetry that we had before, where it was difficult to find vulnerabilities. Now this comes for free with AI, which represent new challenges for sure.
Like, Kostas, I want to hear you.
Yeah, by the way, what is important, bug bounties is one thing. I see a lot of noise lately because everybody's running AI bots and they send you like a huge list of potential attacks. Most of them are duplicates, and then eventually you are lost into this particular like cloud of noise. I think something that should change in the mentality of most of the companies is they should also run internal bug bounties and hackathons to eventually educate their own people how important it is. Just leaving it outside and you have external people who might get, I don't know, $1,000 or maybe $100,000, but by exploiting this particular finding, they can get $1 million, this might not necessarily work down the road. We're in a different scale of potential attackers these days. So personally on Mysten Labs and so what we do is we try to figure out how we can communicate with the big AI companies to be able to get access to the newest models possible and then run internal hack and literally incentivize your employees, find the bug, and probably you will get something extra, or you will be the employee of the month, or you can give other incentives for changing the mentality. After the mentality changes, in my opinion, we will see by far better, more robust constructions out there. Nobody's there yet. And imagine if we see it on the blockchain space, you cannot imagine what's happening in the banking space, or even other places where all of these attacks are never getting public. And in my opinion, we're a victim of this particular transparency because we're also the ones who are innovating into new technologies, right?
But this is why dialogue is also very important in this part, because education usually is quite overused. But one thing, because we're getting to an end of the panel, one thing that I would like to ask you guys, which is a little bit different than usually, if you look down the road a little bit, I want you guys to come up with a prediction over the next 2-3 years that you can be held accountable for today in, what do we have, 2026? 2028, like when we come together here in 2 years, I want you to come up with a prediction about the market and the state of DeFi, where we're just being recorded here with the majority of things. When you come back, people can be like, hey, Kostas, you said this back in the days, you were spot on, or Nico, you said this, you were absolutely wrong. So you guys can be incredibly open about this, like one thing where you say, this is what I believe in fully on. Rodrigo, I'll start with you.
I do subscribe to the belief that there will be more AI agents than humans interacting online and mediating commerce in 2 years.
There will be more cars in Paris too. Come on. Good look. Jason, what about you?
I really think that the DeFi's will be, some of the innovations will be adopted by the institutions and making the whole mass adoption a reality by 2028.
In 2 years. Okay, that's a bold statement. Jiang?
We're going to see more and more agents doing plenty of tasks on your behalf. Blockchain will be the native rails for payment just because it's more convenient, faster, cheaper, and everything. We will see many, many hacks like in the next few months and years. That will be a little bit a bloodbath.
How many is many?
And the last one, which is more optimistic, thanks to AI, we will do incredible progress in science and also in cryptography, making security more accessible.
There's going to be more Kostas around.
Look, for me,
Agentic Kostas.
Yeah, no. There is also necessity for something that is very casual and like a commodity in regular finance. I think there will be some insurance on DeFi in general. Probably we're going to work all of the industry with insurance companies, the existing insurance companies, or some others will pop up because we want to alleviate, to remove this fear of DeFi attacks, and also the institutions will feel a bit more confident and they are like, I am in the same place. There is also some insurance here. Insurance, even money insurance, not necessarily insurance layer as security layers. So I can imagine how the DeFi of the future will also have options where people can even insure their money in their positions. This is coming, and I think it's a necessity because that's why you see you're paying fees in Visa and MasterCard and all of this. Eventually, this is all insurance. So if we go into that mode, yes, DeFi might give you slightly less than, I don't know, 15% yield or something else that it is today, but it will cover this insurance part that will give back the confidence. And eventually, I cannot see how DeFi, by the way, will go down. RWAs will come. RWAs will be also a bit more liquid, and then eventually they will merge into this DeFi ecosystem.
Okay. I believe that when I summarize everything that I've heard today, and keeping in mind that each one of you guys is in a different sector and like solving a very different problem, the one thing that we can agree on is that if this is combined and that collaborative aspect is continued, you still will need one thing which is incredibly important, and that is one way or another institutional guidelines and railways. Because with that together, this institutional adoption, this main adoption, which we have been talking about for a decade and more now, is the only way how this will actually be able to prosper. So with that, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for everybody that listened, and we're done.